Good recording starts. A very good evening to us once again. So, right, let's get at it. Okay, so let's just see where we are or where we shall be. We are going to do a very quick review on, okay, this public policy. Public policy, we're not going to study in public policy now, but we'll do an overview of it so that you will know exactly what we're talking about and what you need to do about the public policy thing. The beautiful thing about this is the structure, okay? The structure through which, so this is what we did look at the last time when we're talking about ethical issues, ethics in business, okay? Why ethics must be considered above other things. That's because you may not be seeing the immediate profits, but in the long run, ethics is going to save your business a whole lot of trouble and guarantee you plenty of profits. Okay, so you're going to study on how to build an ethical organization. What is an ethical organization? You saw those questions. Saw those questions in your assignments that for you to choose and do. And then we extended the ethical and corporate social responsibility practices to good. Thank you very much for being sensitive. We extended them to the environmental responsibilities, where businesses are expected to take care of their ecological environment, the natural environment, the physical environment, okay, as it affects life, the air we breathe in, the what else? The air we breathe in, the water we drink, okay, the crops, the plants that are growing, the weather condition, the atmosphere. That's what all of this is about. But the thing is, some of these things, I was telling you in the other class, some of these things have no research behind them, and the weight at which they are pushing some of these things. Okay, the best practices and the focuses are around hygiene. Okay, hygiene in terms of keeping the air and water and all of these basic elements of life, keeping them in their pure state. That's how your businesses should ensure what businesses should work towards, keeping them in their pure state. It's because living things are consuming them. Okay. So the examples we gave are around challenges in oil-rich villages where there have been amounts of oil spillages, right? And those oil spillages have affected water, even water, like in Bayelsa. I don't know how true it is. My younger sister was telling me because she's schooled in Bayelsa that there was once upon a time they get sachet water from Delta in their school area. Maybe in other areas they may have clean water, but they bring the sachet water that supply them all the way from Delta State, and that's because of how the things have been affected. Right, that is where the concern should be at. Should be on all of these things. In some areas, I give examples of poultry setups, industrial estates, and all of those things. Right, pollution, different types of pollution that you should study, and then what industrial pollution is. Okay, and from there, what are the factors that cause pollution? I asked you to check out how the environmental protective practices of foreign countries, right, cause more damages to developing and underdeveloped countries. That may be one of your questions in your test. I don't know, but you have to check it out. It's in your note. Don't go and check things outside or not in your soft in your course. Well, this one I'm insisting now. Okay, it's everything's in your courseware. So you study all of these things, and then Okay, waste management and what waste is, and how to also do what they call recycling of waste. All of these are meant to reduce pollution. So they give you different strategies, for controlling pollution. Those are the real facts. Now, everything from around here that you see around global warming has not proven to be true. These global warming issues started many years ago, many years ago, many years ago. And if you follow what has been said by those many years ago, by now the earth would have been boiling. Right, by now the earth would have been boiling. But all of those things, like I told you, and I'm serious about this, are control tactics of Western nations, or particularly the deep state. So they begin to bring out global warming issues, and they know that these countries that are coming up in Africa have raw materials, and they don't want you to process your raw materials so that they can always buy them cheap. They don't want to process your crude oil, so because then they will tell you that processing those things will now affect the climate, but they want to come and steal from you and buy them cheap. These are the things I raised up the other time. So understand these things very well. So after a long time, they found out that they've promoted global warming, global warming, global warming, global warming, and nothing is warming up. Just the normal cycle, the same cycle of how heat season comes in, cold season follows. Heat season comes in, rainy season, same cycle. And they now said, oh, let's call it climate change. So many of you now, and you see how billions are pumped into it. Okay. All right. So those are the things I raised up in the last class. And for me to be raising them up again to tell you that I wasn't just blushing, I wasn't just saying it. So they don't have any data to measure carbon. Okay. According to Bill Gates, um, global warming is caused by carbon emissions, carbon dioxide that human beings breathe, that animals and human beings breathe into the air. So the large population of human beings are in Africa, according to Bill Gates, are in Africa, where they breathe out plenty of their air and cause the whole world to become warm for every other person, including them. So if we do a really good job with vaccines and other programs, we will be able to reduce the world's population by so and so. These are Bill Gates' words. I don't know whether you've seen these things. Okay. But it's fine anyway. You can still make your decision as to how you want to run your life or your family by taking them seriously and then listen to what they're saying, or allowing yourself to be blinded by millions of dollars, because that's what's happening now, millions of dollars. And today we have these things pushed out in different forms. They call it population sustainability. It's actually a population reduction agenda, which is meant to reduce the lifespan and also reduce the fertility rate of Africans and Africa and other countries in the world, like they've done in Japan and all those places as well. Okay, that's where all of this is going. That's why it's called business, government, and society. You should understand all of these things in this course. So tonight, um, okay, I wanted to land up to say most of these things are being pushed directly into our agricultural space, because they know food is one of the ways. And those partially are also the sponsors of farmer header crisis, so that the country will not be able to produce its own food, and then so that they will now send their own GMO crops, genetically modified crops, to the those countries at the same time, while they get raw materials cheap, and then the companies will abandon their own seed, and year in, year out, we have to depend on them for even seed to plant. We have to depend on them for seed to plant. So that when they say devalue your currency, if you don't devalue your currency, no grains for you. Come and take loans. This is how it works. Okay, so I'm saying this because some of you here are going to be very influential tomorrow if you're not ready, and you're going to be in positions where you need to make decisions, around all of these things. Don't be blinded by dollars, right? Don't be blinded by dollars. Is this your note? It's not looking like your note. Okay. Okay, so let's come from here. Or should we look at public policy? No, public policy is it's a governmental issue, right? All right, so here we are looking at the governmental issues. I will say looking at governmental issues. We're looking at business issues, and that's how we go to corporate. Okay, okay, that's fine. So let me assume that in the topics that they asked us to consider, we have finished issues that we can say have are more directed to business. So the many issues that we'll be looking at, which we're going to be trying to be very fast, are the issues that we can now say are more directed to the society and then to the government. I think it's okay for us to start with issues that are more directed at the society, right? So public policy is more directed to the government. We're going to leave it, we're going to take it down. Not so much of a very difficult topic. So let me just see how that's going to be moved to the bottom. While I always move this thing every year. I think next year I'll bring it up again. The other year I'll take it down. The other year, anyway, let's go on. So that's question. That's topic number 8. So under this now, under these societal issues, see all the things we'll be looking at. The law, mostly laws, ideologies, and laws. Okay, let me go down before I will. Good. Okay, but the laws actually are. We're going to be seeing that from the perspective of the government. Okay, yeah, the legal environment of business, and what's this businesses and the law. So that's like so. I think that's almost everything now. So why did I do? Why did I do that? Just do it the way it is, I beg. All right. Wow. So we've really gone far. I didn't even know we've gone this far. All right. So let's start up tonight. Are you with me? God, my laptop is getting hot. As in, are you with me tonight? Let's see how far we can go.
Yeah, yeah, with you,
Yeah,
sir.
with you, sir.
Good. So this is how we said we'll move. Can see my screen now. Let's zoom out to 200%. You can mute your microphone again so that it doesn't get any reverb effects. Okay, okay. It's another beautiful night. Okay, we're gonna spend more time today, oh, guys. So I hope you're ready for this. Let's see whether we can close by 10 o'clock. Let's try and cover everything around. Good. So this is where we started from. After we have done introduction, we discussed BGS models, and then we discussed corporate governance, and then we've discussed business ethics. So we've been treating issues that pertain to the society, and those that include those two things, right? Ecological issues, and then societal laws. After that, we're going to jump into public policy and business laws. But I think I would just love business laws to come first. Somebody is raising their hand. Do you have a question? And that's because we will just flow from societal laws into business laws and then looking at government. Okay. So the society. What is a society? From the beginning, we said a society is when people live together actually, but the main focus is not that they live together. The main focus are the things that make them live together. What are the things that make people live together in a particular place and they live in harmony? No, no trouble, no covetousness as it was in those barbaric ages. right? And it's the survival of the fittest. Those things are no longer there. Everybody has his own specialization in the area where you are fit, and then you focus on it and contribute to the well-being of the entire society. So that's what we say. Um, the society has elements or things that make it a society, and we said three things, right? Number one, the ideas. Another word is ideology. The norms, the societal norms. I don't say norms. Norms is related to the word normal. What they see as normal. It's normal. It's normal with our people to always greet like this, or eat this kind of food, or marry one wife, or you know, stuff like that. Is normal, norms, and then our values. Oh, we uphold respect. Well, these are our values. So we uphold hard work. These are our values. So the norms and the values are what make up the ideologies or the ideas. Okay, so our study of the society will be more of these norms and values aspects. Now, the other things are the institutions, of course, and then what's the third one? The material resources that they have to meet their needs as a society. Right? Right. So, okay, someone wants to join the meeting again. Okay, wait, let me lift this thing up with something else so it doesn't get to become too hot and then good. So that's where we are, right? And now we're going to be looking at some of those laws, some of those ideas. Those ideas are what evolve into into ethics rather, societal ethics. What the society come to consider as good or bad. No, won't tolerate this. Or okay, and then those things evolved. They became traditions over the years, and before anything, today they have become laws. So that's why we're going to be studying societal laws. So the question now is, what is law? Any question? So someone should answer us if there's no question. What is law? Mhm. I'm right. I was right here. What is the law? I'm not open my book. Somebody is hiding to check my notes. If my screen now, somebody will read. But what is law? Be very quick. Let's be very quick about this. Good. I'm right about taking this one away from here. Go on, please. Oga, madam, you want to speak, right? Who wants to speak? Go ahead and help us. I don't want to help us. Why are
Good
you
evening, sir.
hoarding knowledge? Good. Good evening. Thank you so much for not hoarding knowledge. Okay, start. Let's start with you, right? Help us. What
Law,
is
law can
law?
be described as the laws and rules. A
Now
law
you're
can
using
be law can be described as the rules and regulations.
yeah, you're talking. Yeah, using law to define law. Yeah, we can see which one are you talking about. But thank you so much for that. Rules and regulations. How deep can they go? Somebody has raised up a hand. Okay, I think I would love that person to also help us with what he wants to, what he has in his mind. Okay, good. So before we come to the business, the legal part, the governmental parts of business. Let's look at this. Okay, legal issues. I don't want to just jump into legal issues. Let's look at the law first before we can start talking about legal issues. Okay, how the laws narrow down to business. Then we'll be talking about the government. Okay, so let me say this one should be tagged the government, right? Government aspect of BGS. But all these other ones are still society and laws. Good. Society and laws. We have not gotten to legal issues in business yet. Good. Society and laws. So we said we're going to be looking at society and the law. What is the law? Types of law, classifications of law, sources of law, and the Nigerian legal system. That's going to end this. So we'll now jump into the government, and the government is actually made up of two things: legal and political. Legal is the law itself, and then the political is the policies. That's why we're going to be looking at laws that concern business and then policy. But for now, let's move on. So I've already explained all these parts. I talked about the norms and the values and then the ideologies by which they do everything that pertains to their existence. If you go to the north, you see the houses are built, especially in the places that are not commercially open yet, or you see the houses are built in a certain way. If you go to the south, it might be of the same material too, but the houses are built in a certain way. Those are ideologies. They dress in a certain way. You go to the south, you see them dressed in a certain way. Those are ideologies. So we arrive at this point. Somebody said laws are rules and regulations. Okay, so I want to clap for you now. I can see you. That's fine. So say laws, the law rather has been defined as a body of rules and regulations that guide human conduct, and as they are accepted as binding by the society. That means anybody who breaks those rules and regulations is the entire society that is punishing the person. So there's nothing like, okay, good. So we said a breach of which exposes the culprit to a punishment. But look at my short definition. That's how we reduce it here. Simply put, law can be defined as a body of rules and regulations which an organized society by which an organized society is governed. A breach, you break it, that's what a breach is. A breach of which carries specific sanctions. Okay. So the law is therefore normative in character in the sense that it prescribes rules and then it seeks to regulate human behavior so that the ideologies can be preserved. Okay. Law is a system of rules created and enforced through social and governmental institutions. Okay. Good. So look at all of those types of laws. Okay. It's the basis. What I want to focus on here, first of all, is the basis. Can you see that? How am I going to do this thing so that you're going to understand it? So when we say general issues now, okay, are you following my interpretation? Based on general issues, laws are classified into what? Private and private law and what? Public law. Are you following me now? Law are classified into what? Private law and what? Talk with me. Public law. So
Public law.
when it concerns individuals, our private life, our private relationships, then we can now say it's private law. In this one, I'm talking about things like family law, civil law, business law. But when it concerns the state like the constitution, okay, something like that, the state, the acts, then we can now say these ones are public law. These laws are meant to do many things, many things around. But now those laws are meant to do many things. Talk about how resources will be shared, how people can relate without getting involved in one another. Okay, yes. But now the second part now, I want to talk about offenses. You know what offenses are, right? Everybody knows what offenses are. So let's say this first part is just to make for smooth operation. General issues and order. Put it this way. Good. I think I like that. General issues and order. Laws are classified into private law and public law. Offenses, right, and justice. Those things come under two classes too. That means in this offense and justice now, we also have the part that is private part. Sorry, the part that has a private component and the part that has a public component. So the private component is what they call civil law, while the public component is what they call criminal law. That's where the word crime. So if an individual offends an individual, that's treated under civil law. If an individual offends the state, that's under what? That's called a crime. That's what we call. Are you with me now? Criminal law. Okay. Offend the state. Like how
Yes,
can
sir.
you offend the state? How can you offend the state? You don't pay taxes. They'll say you've offended the state. There's some crimes that they feel they are crimes against humanity. So if you offend it, even though it's against one another, it's actually the state you are offending. Like murder, rape, all those kind of heavy everything. See, these are heinous crimes. So they are really, really offenses against the state, and it's the state that will punish the person, even though the party decides to say, I forgive you. Okay, the state, you have offended the state and broken the law of the land, something like that. But when it has to do with you versus me, you say your white goat to me. I brought my money. You are now selling me your black goat. I no go agree. Give me my money back. You are offended. Those are all civil cases. Okay. So examples of civil cases, we have law of contracts. We'll see that trust, family law, all those things. But they all arise. These areas now we're talking about where there are offenses. Law of torts. They're all under that. Okay. And then the scope now. The scope of it. The scope of coverage. That's why we have international law and international law and national law. Can you see that? International law and national law. So international law, the major law, the strongest of laws are actually national laws. At the international level, states have to maintain their sovereignty. Now, this is still bringing us back to the globalist agenda of trying to weaken the sovereignty of nations so that they can form a globalized government, a globalized system. But they want to be the ones in charge so that you will own nothing and you will be happy. Have you heard of that statement before? You will own nothing and you will be happy. But they will own everything and they will be happy. So they want to own your country. They want to give, for example, WHO the opportunity, the powers to declare a pandemic, and then stuff like that. All of those things are achieved through international treaties, and they will write hundreds of pages of laws and then send to your legislators, and they will not read it and they will sign anyway. Okay, they won't read it and they'll sign. Okay, so we said the coverage now, the scope. Okay, national bodies like the UN, all these international court of justice, and all of those things where they are not national issues, they have gone up. Those are classified under this. So when you are asked to talk about classifications of law, these are the different areas you look at them from. You come from area of the part where they are meant to maintain laws, meant to maintain order. So that part where the law is given to maintain order. It's between private individuals, it's called private law. It's between the country, state, and individuals, it's called public law. Then when it comes to issues of justice, right, it becomes crime, criminal law, and law of torts. And then the scope, okay. Now, another part is this: where are we getting all these laws from? From where are they handed down to us? From where? In this literature, they give us four different sources. Number one, the customs and traditions of our forefathers. Right? Customs and traditions of our forefathers. They were they are called ancient ideology. That's how they've lived, and it has been passed down from one generation to another. And today, they have become what they call common law. In the UK, in Britain, they call them common law. But here, we call them what? Customs. Okay, control B. So then we have judicial precedent. Another sources of law should be what? Judicial precedent. Judicial precedent are law cases that have been treated in court, and whatever the ruling was, maybe in 1990 there was a case between Mr. A and Mr. B, and the court ruled that based on conditions EFG, Mr. B has won the case. So if a similar case like that again is happening in 2025, the law can say, you remember that case in 1990 where Mr. A won Mr. B because of this and this. You can now see all the things play out. Just repeat it. That is a judicial precedent. Okay. They call them case laws. They call them case laws. Okay, so they are judgments from past case laws that are used to interpret current cases, upcoming cases. So it's those past judgments that are called judicial precedent. Precedent means something that precedes, which also means something that comes before what we have now. All right, we have the third class legislations, laws that the current government will sit down and pass into bill. You pass it as a bill at the House of Reps and I think it's House of Reps, right? Then they will pass the thing and becomes a law. Definitely, of course, the other one will now come from international bodies. So there are four sources of law. But I promise you will not see this one in your exam this year. You might see it in your CBT, but not in your essay. Like I told you in your former lessons, everything you have seen in past questions, that's the thing not to read in the exam. So let the past question be what a few things that will guide you as to what to study. I'll give you a scope, a hint, okay, of how to study. It's going to be a difficult one though, but I'll give you a hint. I've already given you a hint 2 times now, but you've not gotten it. But I will clarify the hints so that it will guide you to study for your exams. Right? So that when you're reading any of the, I think, 12 chapters in your courseware, you will know what you'll be looking for. Right? Right. Next, the
Yes, sir.
legal system. Remember, we talked about institutions. The society is made up of ideas, materials, and institution. One of those institutions is the legal institution. Institutions are systems. Okay, so that system that upholds the law, that's the one we're talking about here. So here they said the legal system is a structure, a set of institutions. Some institutions are referring to the courts, the police. Okay, name them. Let's see them. The courts, the government, and the law enforcement agencies, the military, road safety, all those different wonderful bodies we have in our beloved country. Right. So those are set of institutions put in place to help in clearly defining and interpreting the laws of the land, to enforce it, to make sure that there's compliance. That's why the police and all of those law enforcement are there, to make sure there's compliance. And then when people are offended, their same bodies start to make sure that their conflicts are resolved peacefully. So we're looking at the courts, the government, and the law enforcement agencies. There are two main functions of a legal system. This question has been flogged over. It may not come out this year, but look at it. Number one, peace and order. Number two, equity and justice. Peace and order. Make sure that everything is going smoothly in the entire country. Then equity and justice. When somebody has been offended, how can they make sure that the person is fairly compensated? So that is almost everything you need to know about how the society and its laws operate. Period. The next thing we should be looking at should be the government. Okay, the government. That's where we talk about business and the law. So I think I'm supposed to shift all these places down. The government, business laws. Okay, business law. So let's see now. But before then, how do these laws affect businesses? Why should we be studying about these things in this course? Okay, he said, as you are doing your business, there are many laws that you have to open your eyes to, shine your eyes to. Okay, at every stage, there are different laws. When you want to start your business, like this part now, at the point where you are establishing your organization, there are laws that are holding you If you want to buy properties or buy the, goods or transact or do business, there are laws that are binding you. Okay, why even while you are doing your business operations, there are laws also that are holding you. I hope you understand why this has to be like this. So as a manager, it's your job now to make sure that you familiarize yourself with all of these laws. When you want to start up a business, what are the laws for business registration, business incorporation? Okay, that one is upheld by the great CAC, the almighty CAC. I mean, you know the almighty CAC now, Corporate Affairs Commission, where all the companies have to be registered properly, right? Yeah. So we have them at different levels though. From the one that is just you alone that want to start up a company, you can now register it as a business. You can now register it as a business name, but all of those laws are there. Okay. Then in your regular everyday business, what are the laws you will meet? You will meet what are the laws you will meet? You will meet planning, you will meet laws around property laws, contract, law of contract, and law of agency. We will discuss law of contract and law of agency laws rather in this course, maybe this night as well, because we are rushing now. I think okay, we can see one or two more classes and wrap it up, right? I need to even set your forum, safe. Set up your forum, and then, mm, and then, okay. So, all right. So let's look at this other side. We said you're going to go and read this part. Read this part very well. Businesses and legal consequences. Let me just tell you for free. You will see it in your exams. Businesses and legal consequences. The question should be, what will happen if there are no properly enforced law? That's this line. Okay, what are the things that will happen in the absence of appropriate enforced legal rules? Okay, okay. Businesses and legal consequences. We said if your business is going to succeed, you need to ensure that it is legally sound. You need to get legal advice from registered law firm. You need to get legal advice. It might cost you at the beginning, but it's going to save you more money in the long run because issues will come up and somebody will want to come and claim something that they did not keep because they hear that it's a company and then they claim damages. The law will easily sue and your own will suffer for ignorance of the law. No, that's not good. So in a society where the laws are properly applied, you may get justice. But what do you think happens? It affects different aspects. How does it affect banking transactions? How does it affect business relationship? How does it affect work in the relationship in the workplace? Okay, so those are the issues that you're going to consider under this part around what happens in society, given the society law. So now we're jumping straight into business laws, right? Yep, jumping straight into business laws. Is there any question here before we move on? Okay, so let's assume that there's no question, right? Mm, let's hold on, let this page load. Let's speak from there. These are the one we just looked at right now, right? Good. So this is technically another topic on its own. Good. And I'm thinking correctly. Yeah, so that means in my notes, this topic should go down to the next page, right? So this one I call lecture 9 now. Shouldn't be here. Good. So now, what are the laws affecting businesses? What are the laws affecting businesses? We have seen them already, right? We've seen a good number of them. We would Control Enter, Control V. Good. Very good. Great. So, we use Microsoft Word or this one that continue from previous numbering. Start from scratch. That's my problem with Google Sheets. They want to do an app and you're not doing it in consideration of what already exists before. So, okay. Anyway, so just ignore that, okay? Good. So, under these issues around the government, we're going to be looking at least probably some of all these little topics, and then we will now look at three major laws: law of contract, agency laws, and then laws that protect intellectual property. Because these are issues that we see in businesses. Okay, law of contract. So, but let's go on back to Courseware and see what we got there. Right. So, law and the consumers. One thing businesses should know is that the law protects consumers. That's why you see it's easier for companies, for the court to rule against the company and say, pay damages, the company will pay. Okay, good. So read all of these aspects. And when you're reading this kind of long notes, you try and bring out, okay, you bring out what now? The points in them. Good. So I've I've read about all of these parts just now. So those laws that businesses use on a day-to-day basis, they are the ones they call business law. There's no law that is the name of that law is what business law. There's no law like that. But when we say business law, we're referring to all those laws that bind business activities, like law of contract, law of agency, sales of good act, hire purchase act. Those are the four that I know of that are usually classified under business law. So I emphasized this part just now. Why do you need legal advice? They give some points here, okay? Said, what else would a solicitor help with? And then we said, what happens in the absence of appropriate and legal enforced legal rules? You're going to have effect on contracts, you're going to have its negative effect on property rights, you're going to have effect on corporations, you're going to have effect on the banking system, okay, and so on and so forth. Right. So all those laws are put together are business laws. So now next we're going to be looking at those laws. I said we're going to be looking at three laws. Number one, law of contract. Number two, number two, law of agency laws. It's called agency laws because there is no law as law of agency. It's just called agency laws. Then number three, what I said number three is intellectual property laws. So I'm saying it because I want to picture the three laws that we looked at. All the things we've been saying before, just to lay background as to how the society come to have laws, and then what those laws are, and the system that uphold those laws, and how these laws are classified, and then how these laws rope business, and how these laws connect with business. So just picking out a few, okay? Law of contract, agency laws, and what? Intellectual property laws. So you go and read these three things. I can stop here and say I've treated the three of them since I've told you about them. But it's not going to make sense, okay? This first chapter, we'll discuss law of contract and what? Agency laws. It's not going to be difficult to run through them. I can even look at this screen and run through them, then we'll go down and read whether what I've said is valid. Okay, so let's start with law of contract or letter of agency. Okay, what's a contract? Everybody, somebody wants a contract.
Agreement.
Thank you so much. Agreement. You know why I laughed? I've seen many answers. I've seen funny answers in exams. Okay. Okay. There's a contract is an agreement. But what if I ask this question now and say every contract is an agreement, but not every agreement is a contract? Do you agree? Discuss. That's the one of my lecturers who said that kind of a question. Every contract is an agreement, but not every agreement is a contract. Do you agree? Discuss. 10 marks. Then you start killing yourself. Say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's so because of this. It's not so. So what's the answer to this question now? Do you agree? Talk to me. And do you agree?
Yes. Yes.
Can I just if you see that kind of question, can I just come and say yes? So when I was doing my diploma, my lecturer told me this kind of question. He said, if you say yes, I'll fail you. If you say no, I'll fail you. Discuss your point and argue with that. Okay. Yeah, so we learned how to answer questions by force without saying yes and no, but you're saying yes and no inside the questions. Inside your answer. Okay, so
Okay, sir.
why do you say that not every contract? Go ahead, who's talking, please? Your turn now. Let's learn from you.
Okay, okay, sir. Every contract is an agreement, but every
Mm.
agreement is not a contract. It will only become a
Nothing.
contract
Mm-hmm.
when it is enforceable.
Mm-hmm. Enforceable in what sense? Maybe that's a big word for someone. For me, people are the ones that are going to school now. We're not going to school like that again. When you say enforceable, what do you mean?
When the both parties agree
Mm-hmm.
to carry it out.
Mm-hmm. Like I agree to marry this lady now, and she agrees to marry me. Then
Yes.
it's an agreement now. We agree to carry it out. Is
When
that what I mean by
okay,
enforceability now?
when there's cooperation between the two players, that's what I mean.
There's, there's
When there's cooperation.
there's a word I'm looking for, and you have to give it to me by yourself. I've given you an example. I agree to marry this lady, and the lady agreed to marry me. So we have agreed, right? And then at what point do you not say this is a
Yes,
contract?
sir. When there's legal backing, sir. When
When
there's a
there's a
legal
le-
backing.
when there's a legal backing, and what do you mean by legal backing? First of all,
Yes, sir.
you're getting it. But what do you mean by legal backing?
When there is penalty for someone that fails to keep to his
Exactly.
or her own
That's
part
just it.
of the bargain.
Thank you very much. You people have nailed it. At least you have done very well. I have a gift for all of you. So what is saying is that if that lady finally refused to marry me now, I cannot take her to court. She said that's not a contract. She refused to marry me after we have agreed that we'll get married. I can't take her to court. I said I did a business with my brother, and then me and my brother were doing a thing, and the whole thing messed up, and nothing came. I'm displeased. I'm not happy with it, and I now say, Kai, this my brother. How will I be taking my brother to court or police? I just leave it there. Then that's not a contract. Okay, it can be enforced by the law. The law can come in and shout, and you know that's what a contract is. So we said the definition is usually put as a contract is what there should be that thing of contract in this note, which have been expressed in a way that is going to be simple to understand. Good. So we said, yeah, a contract is an agreement between two parties with the intention to create legal obligations. And if you breach, then the law has to settle us. So a contract is an agreement which creates legal obligations. And in case of a breach of a promise by one party to another, the person that is offended has a legal remedy. Okay, so we can simply define a contract as an agreement enforceable by law. Okay, there are four elements. Okay, in your notes, in your coursework, this is the part I want you to note of. Don't you have to correct this part. Okay, there are many things. These are very deep. They didn't go very deep in this course, on this subject. So as shallow as it is, keep it like that, but you must get it right. There are 4 elements of a valid contract. The other things are not elements, they are other issues around the contract. Okay. And the 4 elements are what you're seeing on my screen now. Number 1, an offer. Number 2, an acceptance of that offer. Number 3, a consideration. And number 4, that legality intention. Okay. Now there are prerequisite basis now, like we'll come to that, we'll come back to that, but let me just show you this. These issues around contract, they are not elements of a contract, like the legality of a contract consideration. Okay. When we read what is a consideration, we'll come back here. One will say misrepresentation, mistakes of fact, or issues around capacity to contract. Who and who can enter into a contract? I think that then contract for minors, duress and undue influence. These are all things that can invalidate a contract, even if those 4 elements are complete. Okay, so let's go back to the top. Running very quickly. What is an offer? Okay, they said here, an offer is that declaration of intention. Declaration of it. You are declaring an intention to enter into a legally binding agreement. So you are the offeror. The person to whom you are making that declaration is the offeree. Okay, and both of you agree to be legally bound. Okay, by that. Okay, when we say declaration, it doesn't mean that you open your mouth and say something. This can happen in many ways. It can be oral. Okay, those parts are not discussed here. It could be oral declaration. It could be written, right? Written declaration. It could be oral that ends up being translated into a written declaration. It could be the one they call implied declaration. You know what an implied declaration means? You did not say anything, but your conduct, your acts is showing that you want to do something. Just like I don't know if you have seen a situation whereby, what example will I use now? A lady sits down and is frying akara, and everybody knows that akara is 10 naira. Then you just come there, you sit down and you start eating. You've not told her anything, no, right? Just pick one, put your mouth. Pick another one, put your mouth. Pick another one, put your mouth. What are you doing? Are you getting it now? You're entering into a contract by your conduct. You have not said, I want to buy a car. How much? No. As a matter of fact, that 5, if you have finished the 5th one, you're expected to do what? Expected to respond to the other part of the contract. Okay, so that's what an offer is anyway. So, I said it here. Good, that's fine. Now, these are issues that you must understand when it comes to do with offers. There are about 6 issues here. Invitation to treat is not offer. What is a counter offer? What are the types of offers? Okay, did I talk to say anything about types of offers? Okay, I just talked about types of offers just now, right? Oral offer, written offer, okay, implied offer, let offer by post. That's what I just talked about now. But an invitation to treat is not an offer. That lady sat down at the junction and is frying her akara. And is saying, buy akara, buy akara. She's not giving you any offer. At that point in time, the matter has not become an offer yet. So only inviting you to come and make a decision whether we can have an offer. I hope you're getting it now. Buy akara, no offer yet. That's what they call an invitation to treat. It's just an ad or probably an auction. An auction, like you usually say. Okay. You come and say when you say buy akara. When you now come and say, okay, I want to buy akara. Who is now making the offer? Are you getting me? I want to buy akara for 20 naira. Who is making the offer? You that are bringing the proposal of what you want. You're the one making the offer. If she now says, okay, come and buy, that means she's accepting your offer. But if she says, no, I will sell to you for 25 naira, this is now a counter offer. Are you getting it now? So this is a counter offer. A counter offer is the offeree. In this case, you are the offeror, the first offeror. She is the offeree. You are telling her you want to buy akara at 20 naira. So what that means is that you want to part away with your 20 naira so that she can part away with her akara and give to you. That is what they call consideration. We'll come back to that. Consideration is that price that one of the party will pay or the benefit you will enjoy. So I want to part away with my 20 naira so that you will part away with one akara for me. That's a consideration. Okay, so we'll come back to that. So at this juncture, if she's the offeree, you're the offeror. If she accepts it and says, okay, let's deal, then the contract has been accepted, the consideration has been established, and every of the four elements is complete. But if she says, no, my akara is going to go for 25 naira per ball, then she is turning the tables. She is now giving you another offer, which is canceling your first offer. That's why they call it counter offer. So she's now the new offeror, while you become the new offeree. Okay? Are you getting that? So that's what we mean by counter offer. So this counter offer has terminated the previous offer, but there are many other ways through which an offer can be terminated. Termination of offer is another subject on its own. How can an offer be terminated? Either by the first and best way through which an offer can be terminated is by completion. When it's complete, I give you my 20 naira, you give me your akara, case closed. The offer has been completed. Then there are other issues that may make an offer to be terminated. Okay, if I say I want to buy that akara, that big one, that one that is pregnant, you know the way you do it. I want to buy that big akara for 20 naira. But in her mind, she's looking at that small one that is dried. That's the one I want to sell for 20 naira. And we don't know that it's different things we're talking about. And I give you my money, then you're not giving me that small one. And I say, no, I don't want. That's not the one I'm talking about. This is what they call misrepresentation. There are many things they call all of these things. Yeah, misrepresentation, misstatement of facts. Okay. So those are just the issues that surround termination of our offer. Okay, condition precedent and condition subsequent. Okay, condition precedent, condition subsequent. Condition precedent is for offer that has not yet happened. So before this will happen, before I will rent your house, Oga, at least you must have repaired the window, repaired the roof, repaired the walls, repaired this. These are conditions that must be fulfilled before the contract can be valid. Okay, before the offer that can be valid. So if these are not fulfilled, the offer can be scattered. While condition subsequent is now that I've entered your house, we are in the contract, it's working fine. The day your fence fall, that day contract ends. That's like this condition must remain fulfilled. Your roof must remain the way it is. Something like that. So I believe you've understood, from what I've said, you've understood what an acceptance is. You also understood what a consideration is. And then you also understood what a legal, okay, intention to create legal relation is. These are the four elements. So let's look at the other things. Legality of a contract consideration. Your consideration. What is the service that you want to render? What is the money that you want to part away with? If that thing in itself is illegal, then you know that the contract in itself has been destroyed before it even started. The contract is like in Nigeria, for instance. Now, if the government comes up tomorrow now and says selling of akara is banned, we have banned akara, no more eating of akara, definitely you know that even if you go to that lady and say, auntie, I want to buy akara, even if she plays you wayo and gives you the small one, and then you are aggrieved, and then you go to court, the government will not answer you because the government has told the people that selling of akara is. That's what I mean by legality of a consideration. So many examples are given here is maybe a service to commit a crime, steal money, commit an assassination, all those kind of things, buy contraband goods or stuff like that. They are all under the legality of aspect. Now, issues around misrepresentation and mistake of facts. The example I gave just now is the mistake of facts. I say, I want to buy your goods. I want to buy your goods. Then in your mind, you are willing to sell the good for me for 20,000. Okay, but in my mind, I say the white good, but in your mind, you say the big black good. And then when we arrive, that's what they call mistake of facts. It's not. We are not talking about the same thing. Misrepresentation. I come to paint the issue to you so that you will believe. Okay, this is my goat. If you see this is my goat, it has 3 horns, and the third horn is big, it's in the center. Wow! You say, wow. Is it true? Yes. Then we now agree price. Then when you now come, you now find out that the goat has only 2 horns. So I've misrepresented the whole thing to you. Yeah, capacity to contract. Who can enter into a contract and who cannot? And what kind of a contract can they enter into? There are classifications here. We have people that can enter into contract based on their age. They call them minors. Some people based on how free they are to make the decision. That's what they call duress. If I put a gun on your head and say, "Oh God, sign it," then that's what they call you're under duress, or they're trying to frame you. Good. Then people who are under not in their correct frame of mind, like drunkards and lunatics. Okay, so all these ones are people who cannot, they're not eligible to enter into certain kind of contracts. Okay, so if one of the parties fall within one of this category, then you cannot carry them to court if they breach. Okay, for age, adults can enter into a contract freely. Okay, as far as the public, there's no contrary part side to the public policy and so on and so forth. And then children can enter into a contract when it has to do with that's minors now. Contract for minors. That's what they call children now. Contract for minors are those ones that children can enter into, like when it has to do with buying food for them, food, basic need of life, food, clothing. They can enter into contract, and even if it's an employment contract, they can enter into the kind of employment contract where it's meant for them to learn, not because they want to come outside doing hard labor. Okay, duress or not do influence. Duress is that type whereby the duress after you already you are entering into this contract by force, and it's not in your wish. That's what they call duress. Undue influence could be that type whereby, oh, I'm your teacher. I taught you in primary school, so because of that influence I'm having on you, ordinarily you wouldn't have done that thing, but because of the influence I'm having on you, there are many ways where I have an influence over you. And because of that influence, I will now push you into entering into a contract. So these are the things that this courseware said we should study: the elements of a contract and the issues that are around contracts. So this is one of the laws. So the second law should be agency law, and then the third law should be intellectual property law. So we can treat agency laws now, or we treat that topic in our next class alongside with intellectual property law. So that in the last class, let me see how many classes can we have before your examination. How many classes can we have before examination? We can have 2 classes at least. I learned your exam starts on the 5th, so we can have the class next week and upper week. So your quiz can come out on the 1st, and your graded forum can also come out on the 1st, so that you can use those two to prepare for your exam. I would like to draw the curtain to a close here. So I would like to know which of you have questions from tonight's session, so that we'll wrap up with these last 2 topics on the government and then enter public policy, and then say bye-bye. Any question? No question. I want to stop the recording now. Let me take questions, please. Oh, you mean this contracting is so clear? Yeah, okay. Thank you for understanding it to the point where I don't have any questions. Okay, I've already asked you questions around. Take note of all those other things. What is a contract and what is not a contract? An invitation to treat is not a contract. If it was in a full law class, they can use case studies to ask these questions. You bring a story and said, okay, somebody did this, somebody shared his goods outside, and then he kept shouting, and so on and so forth. Then I ask you, who is the offerer? What is the offer? What's the offeree? All right, Aja Sefia Ojochide Ali, right? You want to speak? I have a question. Please go on. I appreciate that. Is it a question or you're raising your hand? Okay, you're muted. You should unmute your microphone and speak if you have a question. Okay, so let's assume that it is not a question. All right, someone is asking in the WhatsApp group whether the class is over. I don't know what we should tell the person. No, the class over. Should we say the class is over or the class is not over? Anyway, the class is over. Thank you so much. Recording stops now. Have a wonderful night rest as you prepare for your examinations, right?